This meeting is being held by Zoom, and I'm going to read the script here. In accordance with the requirements of the Open Meetings Law, please be advised that this meeting is being audio and video recorded. The agenda lists all of the topics which may be discussed at the meeting and those that are reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by the Open Meetings Law. Please address all comments to the chair. This meeting of the Conservation Commission will be held by Zoom at the link provided in this notice. This notice is posted on the Lunenburg town calendar page. And if anybody is joining us from Facebook Live streaming and wishes to join the Zoom meeting to be able to actively participate, I would encourage you to go to the town calendar and download the agenda, because the Zoom link there is clickable. And for anyone that just wants to manually enter, the meeting ID is 853-4264-2102. Okay, and I will start out with a roll call. Jenny?
Present.
Rich is out. He's traveling. Jeff?
Present.
Mike?
Present.
Chris?
Present.
Thank you. So do we have any announcements from members of the commission? I'm not seeing anyone raise their hand. So I'll open the floor for public comment. Comments are to be limited to 3 minutes and must be on a subject matter that is under the direct jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. Comments about current agenda items are to be made during the comment period of that specific agenda item. Please address all comments to the chair, that is me. The protocol that we observe in these meetings is we ask members of the public to raise their hand, and I will see that through the magic of Zoom, and I will call on you. There's a raise hand icon usually on the bottom of most Zoom windows. Sometimes it occurs at the top, but at the edge of the window. And if you just can't find it and you have something to say, if you'll just turn on your camera and wave at me or something, then I'll know, or speak up and just let me know, and I will call on you when time comes. All right, we do love to hear from the public. So do we have any public comments? Hi, Chris. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'll let you have a few minutes to speak, everyone. This is our new planning director for the town, so welcome.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and through you to the commission. I'm really excited to be here and to be working with you. Obviously, for folks that are wondering who I am and what my role is, as a land use manager, I'll be supporting all the land use boards and commissions, planning board, the zoning board of appeals, but just as importantly, the Conservation Commission and all your permitting authority and any other interests or priorities you have. So I'll be sort of your ongoing support along with Sophie, obviously, supervising her and supporting her as well through the direction of the town manager and the board of selectmen. I serve at their pleasure, obviously. But I'm really excited to be working with you folks and working on your priorities, and you do important work, and I've worked with a lot of conservation commissions. So here and on board and ready to get going. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for taking the time to stop in and say hi and introduce yourself tonight.
My pleasure.
Okay. And I do not see any other hands raised for public comment. So we will move right along. We do have minutes from the previous meeting from September 4th that have been distributed. Do we have any issues or comments with those? And if not, I am looking for a motion to approve.
So moved, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Second.
Thank you, Jenny. Roll call vote. Chris,
Aye.
Jenny,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
and I for myself. All right, approve those. Okay, don't have any appointments tonight. Sophie, have we had any continuation, or requests for continuations that have popped up in the last 48 hours?
No, I didn't get any.
Okay, very good. Okay, then we will move on to the new public hearings. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetland Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a request for determination of applicability by Richard Parsons for the removal of unhealthy trees on Hickory Hills Lake at 70 Horizon Island Road. And do we have Richard Parsons and or his representative here tonight?
Yes, we're here.
Okay, very good. And do you go by Richard or Rich?
Either's fine.
Okay. Do you have your site plan or materials that you could share with us, or would you like for Sophia to share those on your behalf?
She can share them, that's fine.
Okay. And Sophia, can you call those up for us?
I don't think so. It's saying that a
Oh,
host
that's
is able
my,
and
I've changed the permission. You should be able to do it now.
There's another plan that had a closer view. This keeps getting in the way, sorry. So kind of, oops, sorry, I don't know why it's happening. Toggling back and forth between these two plans.
Well, okay, so let's just look at this for a second. So the conservation commissioners have kind of an idea of where the house is relative to the property lines. The road is to the right and the lake, Hickory Hills Lake, is to the left, is oriented on this diagram. And then let's go to the next that other diagram, which actually shows where the trees are relative to the house in the lower yeah, there we go.
Yep, so this is a close-up with the trees here, and this is the house.
Okay, Rich, why don't you explain to the commission what it is that you are proposing to do here?
These three trees here that are, you can see the X's, those are to be cut because they're dead and pose a danger to the house and neighbors' houses.
Very good. I had the benefit of walking out on the property this weekend with Jenny and with Mike. I had the privilege of meeting Rich, who showed us the dead trees. They're really dead. The bark is peeling off of them, and they are, as I think, really accurately represented in the diagram here, very close to the house. Sophia, did you go out on a site walk, and did you have a recommendation for us?
I did. I would agree with your observation. I think that the trees are very, very dead and there's no sign of life, and they're actually very close to that dwelling. I would recommend that you would approve to remove the trees but leave the stumps. They're, as you may recall, I'm not sure if you took many measurements, but I'm pretty sure they were within 58 to 60 feet from the bank. So they wouldn't need the 3-to-1 ratio replacement whatsoever.
Okay. Thank you. It did seem like in absence of those trees, there was a fair amount of canopy cover around the perimeter of that property, if I recall correctly.
Yes, it's a very, very shaded lot, all around from all angles. So even if something was planted in replacement, it would have to be a very, very shade tolerant species, if anything.
Okay. I don't have any other questions or comments. Do any other commissioners have questions or comments?
Madam Chair, I concur with what has been said by Sophia, and also observing this weekend on our site visit. I think it's probably in the best interest of the property that those trees are removed.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Jenny?
I was just gonna say that I also agree, and I think that leaving the stumps is a good idea. I think that they are very close to the house and dead.
Okay. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Mike. Do we have any questions or comments from members of the public?
No.
And I'm not seeing anybody with raised hands, so I think I'm looking for a motion to approve.
So moved, Mike?
Second,
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Jenny. Roll call vote. Chris?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Jenny?
aye.
And I for myself. Thank you very much, Rich.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving along. And actually on this one, I'll just go ahead and put out there, you know, as a reminder, we're not very far away from the ground rules that I mentioned on setup. But we do have to be very diligent. And I, as the chair, need to be very diligent that we limit comment to the jurisdictional areas of the Conservation Commission, which is specifically the state wetlands protection law and our local municipal bylaw and wetland protection regulation. We welcome all comments within those jurisdictional areas, but I'll have to curtail any comments outside of that jurisdictional area. And I do hope that everybody is clear on that, so I don't have to step in and intervene. We'll move along to the script. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a request for determination of applicability by Robin Jacobs for the relocation of previously approved arborvitae bushes and the replacement of a pre-existing vinyl fence located at Hickory Hills Lake at 372 Townsend Harbor Road. And so do we have the applicant and or their representative here with us tonight?
Yes, you do.
And is this Robin?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Very good. So Robin, do you just want to take us through what you are proposing tonight? And do you have the ability to share from your Zoom session, or do you need for Sophia to share the application materials?
I think it would be best for Sophie to share.
Okay, thank you.
So what would you like me to start with?
Why
Um,
why don't we
directing that
start with, do we have something that kind of outlines where the property boundary is and where the arborvitae currently are relative to the wetland?
Yes, there are a couple. Has to be one of these submitted documents. I'm just not sure which one it is. So, so this is, I believe this is the,
Okay. You want to make that like your whole screen? It'll make it easier for us to see.
okay.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the, I believe this is the current condition, with some other notes for proposed, but there is another, I believe another, plan that I can show for the proposed changes.
Okay. So Robin, do you want to talk us through what you're asking for relative to what we're seeing on the screen?
Sure. What you're looking at, as you said, is the current conditions. This is the latest survey that we had done. And upon having the survey done, we discovered that 4 of those arborvitaes that we had planted previously to control rainwater runoff that was eroding the beach, that was coming over from the neighbor's property. And we would like to relocate those arborvitae now to go along what is the actual property line. When they were planted, we used a map that was provided by the abutter on their conservation meeting, and that was not correct. And so we would like to move the arborvitae so that they would still maintain the holding back the runoff. And we would also like to install a fence along the property line. There was a pre-existing fence. You can see there right after the line with the arborvitae where it says vinyl rail fence. That was one of the original fences. There was even another fence prior to that that had been removed by the abutter.
How many arborvitae are there in that row altogether?
Total of 10. We would like to put 4 on the 41-foot side and 6 on the 55-foot side.
Okay. Okay, and the area that is in question, one question that I have is how far is that from the lake, from the lake high water mark? Do you know?
I think it is about, so where that 41-foot goes down to the edge of the water, I believe that is approximately 10 feet.
Okay. I was just drawing that in my notes. Okay, and it looks like in this drawing, you're actually proposing to, have the vinyl fence go all the way along the property line, including up to the, edge of the water?
Possibly, yes. The previous fence, the wood fence, did go right to the stone wall there.
And the stone wall that you're referring to is the one that's behind the abutter's barn, or in this orientation above the abutter's barn, or is there a stone wall somewhere else that you're referring to?
This is the stone wall that's in the water, on the 55-foot side.
Okay. Okay, and the fence that had been there before was a split rail fence, and it went all the way up to the water?
That is correct. I pointed it out, on the physical visit.
Okay, yep, fair enough. Okay, um. So then, do we have questions or comments from members of the commission?
Yeah, can you clarify, are we addressing the fence or just the addition of the plantings?
Well, so all of it is in the application, right? And I think there are a couple of issues here, right? So there's a fence that's proposed to be placed within the 30-foot no touch zone. And that's something has historically been some contention with the Conservation Commission. And then the other thing is, moving vegetation around, but it looks like it's a proposal to,
Yeah,
move, right, or replace. We, of course, are not in a position to give permission for something that happens on somebody else's land. So the abutter would have to consider whether they would permit the removal of those for arborvitae. And I think the abutter is on, so we can ask that question independently. I would be concerned, just me as an individual conservation commissioner would be concerned about allowing fencing within the 30-foot zone because we are instructed by regulation to provide wildlife access. But that's just me, one vote. I'm always in favor of generally in favor of adding vegetation within the buffer zone. So that's always a good thing in my mind.
thank you.
So no questions or comments from members of the commission? Okay, well, then I will open the floor to public comments. Again, those are limited to 3 minutes. Pauline, you have your hand raised?
Yes, thank you. So we are the abutter for this property here. And we have a very large concern of this fence. Main reason would be blocking our view of the lake. There's no information whatsoever as far as what type of fence, how high it would be, what it will be made out of. There has never been a fence on the property line. Therefore, this would not be replacing a pre-existing fence. This would be a whole new fence that's never existed before. So,
And Pauline, if I might ask, I saw evidence of a fence in that vicinity. It wasn't a vinyl fence. It looked like posts from split rail fence, previous split rail fence. So,
there was a split rail wooden fence that was on their property. But when we moved into the house, we were led to believe it was our fence. And we did take that fence down, not knowing that it was not our fence.
okay, thank you. So there was a split rail fence that has previously existed in that general vicinity.
Yes, but it was not on the property line. It was not, and it did not go all the way to the water. It did not go all the way to the other side of the property. There was still the ability to go between the fence and our shed over onto the extension of our property behind our garage.
Okay. And I see that Sophie has pulled up some information about the vinyl fencing, but I'll let you continue with your comments and we'll go through what the proposed fencing is after.
Okay, so the arborvitae bushes that they planted, first of all, those, as everyone knows, those are gonna grow to be 10 feet or higher eventually. And that right there alone is gonna block our view. And this fence that they're proposing, if I'm looking at this correctly, this looks like a, what, 7-8 foot fence or something like that. You know, would the nice side of the fence, first of all, be facing our property? Second of all, a fence that's more than 3 feet or even 4 feet is going to totally block our view. It looks like it's going to be solid. And I thought when someone puts up a fence, they can't do it exactly on the property line. It would have to go so far into their own property. And those are quite a few of our questions. We feel that this is a fence that is definitely going to block our view.
Okay, Pauline, thank you for those comments. It does look like it will block your view. It does, would also agree with your position that the arborvitae will eventually grow to block your view. Unfortunately, the view is not something that is jurisdictional to the Conservation or Wetlands Protection Acts. Fencing setback is also not a Conservation Commission jurisdictional something. I don't know, but I think that is maybe planning. Sophie, do you know, or Jeff or Mike, do you know setback on fencing? Who has jurisdiction there?
That would be the building department.
Yeah,
Building
I would
department?
second that, yeah.
And Madam Chair, I think the abutter is correct. When you do put up a fence, you need to be able to allow the person who owns the fence space in order to maintain that fence, whether it's painting or cleaning. So
Yeah, there's a setback for a reason.
Yes.
You're correct, Mike.
but I don't know what that setback measurement is, but I'm sure it's
Oh, I don't either. It's not in the Wetlands Protection Act.
right. It could be easily found out by the building department.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Thank you for those comments. So I'll go back to Robin. Now that Sophia has the information up about the vinyl fencing. Maybe you could tell us a bit about what you have proposed here in terms of your fence.
Sure. Yep, it's a 6-foot vinyl fence. It matches the fence that's on the north side of our house currently.
Okay, hang on just a second. Your audio is kind of not good, so I just want to repeat back to make certain I heard it correctly. You're proposing a 6-foot fence? 6 foot high?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, keep going.
And we are aware that the nice side needs to be towards the abutter. We will follow all rules that, apply to having a fence installed. We will find out what the setback is and we will follow all the rules.
Okay, so you'll find out what the setback is and follow those rules. And the fence that's shown here in the diagram goes all the way to the ground. Is that also consistent with what you're proposing?
I believe it does go all the way to the ground and we, again, where you saw the arborvitae's will be planted, on our side of the fence, along with a berm to stop the runoff.
Okay. So the fence is going to have to allow water migration under it, but other than that, yeah, it can come all the way down. I mean, as far as I'm aware, it just has to allow some water migration under it.
It's fine, we plan to comply.
Okay, Pauline, you have another question?
Yes, just a couple additional comments.
Oh, hang on, Pauline. Can I've overlooked a matter of formality here, and I apologize because I do know you, but if you would just state your first and last name and your address as well.
Pauline Abrams, Zarko, 379 Townsend Harbor Road.
Okay, and thank you for that. Anyway, proceed with your question.
Sure. So a couple things then that are coming to mind here is when I looked up fencing laws in Massachusetts, one of the laws is that in your backyard, you can have up to a 6-foot fence, but in a front yard, it can't be more than 4 feet. And this would be considered, I mean, their house is across the street, but it would be in front of their house. So I want to question that, first of all. Second of all, if there is a setback, that's going to put that fence much closer than 10 feet to the water. And again, I want to make sure if a fence goes up that we have a decent side facing us, so our property looks nice the way we'd like it to. So those are a couple additional comments and questions.
Okay, thank you for that. The zoning or the height, I think, is the building department about front yard versus backyard. That's a complicated area there. I wouldn't even hazard guess. So that's something to take up with the building department. And in terms of the side, what side is facing you? Again, that's not jurisdictional, but for the sake of disclosure, do we have a view of both sides of the fence there? And does the applicant know which side would be facing the abutters?
Both sides are identical.
Okay. And so then Sophie, do you have that flyer again? Okay, then, this kind of look and feel, would be facing the abutters, is what you're saying, Robin?
Yes, Madam Chair, this is, the exact same fence that is on the north side of our property.
Okay. Understood. Okay, then, so, Sophia, could you take us back to the, no, I'm an engineer, I always like the diagrams. Could you take us back to the diagram of the property parcel that you had first showed us? Okay, very good. And, so, Pauline, would you be willing to let the, applicant, remove the 4 arborvitae that are on your property, or no?
No, we will not allow that.
Okay. And then, with this, back to the applicant, and, you know, me not speaking as a chair, but just as one vote as a commissioner, I would like to see, um, I personally would like to see where, the fence would be if, we didn't allow it within the 30-foot, zone, but that's just me, and I'll let the rest of the commissioners speak, to, you know, if they have concerns about the fence being within the no disturb zone, or not. I do see, Robin, is, RJU? You have your hand up?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I just wanted to, let you know that we do have a letter that Pauline wrote to us asking us to actually move those arborvitaes.
Okay, I understand, Robin, but, what I'm hearing right now is that that permission is no longer valid, so you'll have to take that up offline with the abutters. The Conservation Commission does not have the, jurisdiction to rule on matters of, property ownership and property lines.
That's fine, thank you.
Chris Riley, you have your hand up?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just point of information on the issue of the fence and the zoning regulations, if I may, through you to the board.
Yes, please.
This is from the zoning bylaws, and I'll read it verbatim. It's just a paragraph on the fence requirements. Boundary fences, walls, or hedges shall be permitted, provided they do not exceed 6 feet in height, and provided that no fence which obstructs vision shall exceed 36 inches in height within 20 feet of the street line, or within 12 horizontal feet of habitable rooms in an abutting dwelling. And then goes on a little bit more. Open storage, loading of service areas and parking lots for 6 or more cars shall be screened from any adjacent residence. I don't think we're talking about that, but public way by wall, fence, or densely planted trees or shrubs at least 3 feet in height, or shall be equivalently obscured by natural vegetation. So that's the actual zoning bylaws for your information. That's all I have.
No, that's great. Do you have that in paper copy, or, is it an online link that, you could share with, Sophia to share with the, applicant and the abutters?
There's an online link for that. The code is an e-code, so it's available online to anyone. And I'll get that link to Sophie. And you should always verify things with the building inspector. He's the zoning code enforcement officer. But that's the language, that's the requirement that he would look at.
Well,
I'll get that to Sophie.
that's excellent. Thank you, Chris.
Sure.
Okay, moving along. So I didn't have my commissioners ask questions, so I'm actually gonna roll call on them to see what their thoughts are about adding fencing within the 30-foot no touch zone. Mike, what are your thoughts on that?
Madam Chair, given that there was a fence there too, and it looks like it went right to the water line as there's still existing wooden post. Am I correct when we went there on Saturday? Did you observe that as well?
I did along what we're seeing right now is the 55 foot area.
Yes,
I didn't observe anything like that up around where it says proposed fence line on the kind of the upper part of the diagram.
okay.
So
Um,
but I agree with you, you know, along that 55.87, it did look that way.
and is the issue about, and I know we're not in a position to discuss the view as it applies to the fence. But can I just suggest something, or is that not appropriate?
Go ahead and suggest something.
The latter part of the fence that goes toward the water, would the applicant and or the abutter feel better about if that part of the fence was sloped in such a way that it would allow a view to the abutter, but still provide the fence part, you know, if you're at 6 feet and you do some architectural design that brings that last part of the fence so there is view to the lake, would that be something that anyone would consider as feeling better about the fence along that water line?
So Mike, I think that's a great suggestion. And I'll let the applicant and the abutter address that offline. Because I don't, as you mentioned, I don't think that's within our jurisdictional area. And I don't think if they made that kind of slight nuance change, it would affect our decision or the outcome of the RDA that's in front of us.
I
Do
understand.
you agree?
Yes, I agree.
Okay, very good. Okay, Chris?
I would actually rather see natural plantings than a fence. I'm not sure what the applicant's trying to accomplish, but you know, because they're in the, you know, so close to the water, I would prefer to see natural material.
Okay, and so the natural material within the 30-foot zone,
Yes,
outside of the 30, do you have an issue with the fence?
no,
Okay. Jeff?
Yeah, I kind of stand with Chris. I think maybe a split rail fence, you know, like 4 feet high within 30 feet of the water. And that would be on that 55-foot section, and also that corner section. It looks like it's within 30 feet of the water. So, you know, a split rail fence within 30 feet or some kind of vegetation, you know, just to define that property line. And then, you know, whatever the building inspector approves on the rest of it for the height requirements, I would be fine with that.
Thank you, Jeff. Jenny?
I agree. I think that some sort of vegetation within the 30-foot, no touch, and then whatever the planning board says is okay outside of the 30-foot.
Okay. Very good. That's I think those are excellent suggestions. I'd be very comfortable with that myself. I think those are great suggestions from the commissioners. So Robin, do you have any issues with those suggestions from the commission? Does it sound workable?
Yes.
Okay. And Pauline, I do see that your hand is raised. Do you have another comment?
Yes, just one final one. Is it possible to bring that picture back up we were just looking at?
Yeah, Sophia, and Pauline, I think you're referring to the site diagram.
Yes.
Okay. We'll get there. Oh, I think it's up. I think it's up. I think it's the second one down. I thought it was the second one down. I thought it was that one. Yeah, it's okay, Pauline.
Okay, just one comment. Where you see where it says vinyl fence, vinyl rail fence, and all those arborvitae bushes right now, that is where the existing wooden post and beam fence was when we first moved in. And the area behind that, behind the locust bushes, up until that 55-foot area, we were led to believe by the abutters that that was our property, and that's why we took that fence down. And that's the only fence that ever existed. So again, I just want to make it clear that this is all new fencing that they're looking to do. It's not replacing any fence that ever existed in the past. The only fence that existed was where it says vinyl fence right now and those arborvitae bushes. And I just wanted to point that out.
Okay, thank you, Pauline.
Yep.
Okay, so moving forward, what I think I would like to see is this plan proposal updated to include the suggestions from the commissioners. So that would include marking up the drawing to designate where 30 foot from the high water mark is. And then also adding in, you know, if the applicant would consider revising the plan to have split rail fence. Oh, does that have the 30 foot marked on it? I can't see. It's an eye chart. I need 2 pairs of glasses for this one. Okay. Yeah, so then yeah, so if the applicant Robin, you said you would take on board some of the suggestions by the commissioners and understanding that they were interested in vegetation or a split rail fence within 30 foot of the high water mark of the lake. That's what I think I would be asking for. Jenny, you have your hand up.
So, I want to say the first thing is that there is a plan in the, OpenGov that has the actual
Oh,
watermarks
does
on
it?
Yeah,
Okay.
so it is, what is it called? Hold on. 379 property map provided at Concom meeting. There it is. But the other question I had was, as far as the plan for vegetation, if we were going to do vegetation, would they submit a plant list to us just to make sure
Yes,
we
that
approve plants?
we would want to have a planting list, yes.
And that's all I had.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. So this is nice, but I would want to see something on the actual plan proposal where the fencing is that showed where the solid vinyl fencing was going to go versus where either split rail or a combination of split rail and vegetation would go. That's what I would like to see on a revised plan. Robin, you have your hand up.
Yes, Madam Chair, this map that is up currently, this is the map that was presented by the abutter at the original conservation meeting when they were digging their ditch, and it is not an accurate map. This
Okay.
is what This is how the arborvitae's ended up on their property.
Okay, well then we will disregard that. Yeah, well, I think we're relying upon you to bring us a revised plan. Okay, so how much time do you think it would take for you to I guess what I'm asking is if we wanted to see your revision again, would you want to be scheduled for the October 2nd meeting or the meeting after that?
October
Sec-
2nd would be fine.
Okay, October 2nd will give you enough time. That's excellent. And it doesn't have to be fancy or anything. Types of materials that you've already provided to us would work just fine. And do you have any questions about what we would be looking for in the plan revision?
Yes, I would like to see a summary of that so I can put it all together.
Okay. So Jeff, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was just gonna mention that, you know, any plan that's, I guess, derived from this point forward should probably be looked at by the building inspector, you know, height wise, to see if the fencing will be allowed. So maybe something from him on letterhead saying that this approval meets the requirements, just so that it's not changed in the future. I think that'd be kind of one box I'd need to see checked off as well, personally.
Yep, that's a good idea. Thank you, Jeff. And something simple like plan meets fencing building regulations.
Yeah, that would be fine.
Okay. And then what we would also be looking for is a 30-foot line on, and maybe take this one down so we're not looking at Sophia since that one's been disputed as accurate. But something similar to that shows 30 feet as it crosses your property parcel. And then relative to that 30 foot from the high water mark, showing you know, where your solid vinyl fence is proposed. And then showing where you would change to either split rail and or vegetation, and specifically what you've elected to do there, split rail and or vegetation. And then if you're doing additional vegetation, a planting schedule, approximate locations, varietals, and that kind of thing. Again, doesn't have to be fancy. We just want to be very clear on what's proposed and what's been permitted. When we get to that point. Yes, Robin, you had another question?
On the 55-foot length where it goes to the water where there's a stone wall, how do we do the high water mark? Do we just go from the stone wall?
You know, Sophia, can you provide any guidance there? I'm guessing we're only probably going to be a couple of feet. I mean, it looks like it's a pretty sharp bank there.
I couldn't hear a little bit of partially of what she said.
I think what she's saying is she doesn't know where to measure 30 feet from, and I'm wondering if that's something that you could help her with.
It would be the edge of the bank, anywhere where you can see the high water mark, and a good indication of that is where the roots of vegetation and trees are very exposed, and you can see like erosion happening. You can also see some staining where the bank is. So basically where the water is the highest and where it sits and meets on the bank. That would be the starting point. where you'd measure.
Yes, Robin.
Again, my question is the 55-foot side, that goes out to a stone wall that's in the water. It's a retaining wall. That was there 31 years ago when we bought the house. And the previous wood rail fence went right down to that wall.
Okay, so by wall, maybe you mean revetment, so like an armored shore edge.
I'm not sure what an armored shore edge is, but yeah, it's, I mean, you can't even see the wall when we're standing on our property. It's down below us.
Yeah.
It's a
And I
thick
don't
stone.
recall seeing a wall there, but I know on a lot of properties there are stones embedded in the edge of the shore bank that's kind of provides protection against wake and waves coming in and eroding the shoreline.
Right, so there's no sloped shore. It's just a rock wall.
Okay. Yeah, so you can measure from the top of that, 30 feet.
Sounds good, thank you.
Okay, I articulated to Robin what I heard from the commissioners. Jeff, you added the building inspector letterhead that the plan meets the fence building code and requirements, which I also think is a very good add. Yes, Robin.
I'm sorry, a question again on that line. The
Mhm.
original fence that was there, the wood split rail that went down on that 55-foot section, that went right down to that stone wall. Is that grandfathered? Or do we have to go 30 feet now from there?
So I don't think anybody's really considering whether it's grandfathered or not. But it sounds like the conservation commissioners are willing to consider letting you put in a split rail fence within 30 foot of the shore bank. So, and along the property line, in accordance with the setback requirements from the building code. So I don't sense that there's any opposition to putting in a split rail fence kind of along the line that you have proposed, again, within the constraint of the appropriate setback. Does that answer your question? I'm not really 100% certain I understood it right, but
Yes.
okay, very good. And if you do have further questions, you can reach out to Sophia. And if she has any other questions about it, she'll reach out to me, but she's pretty sharp study, so I'm certain she would be asking if she had other questions. So we have, I think I'm looking for a motion to continue this to October 2nd.
So moved.
Second,
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Jeff. Roll call vote. Jenny? Jenny, I didn't see you come off mute. Okay, I didn't hear Jenny's vote. We'll circle back to her. Jeff,
aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Jenny?
I got kicked off for a second.
Oh, and I for myself. So we'll see you again on October 2nd. Thank you. Moving along to continued public hearings. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation by Kevin O'Brien at 390 Howard Street. Do we have Mr. O'Brien or his representatives here?
Well,
think I saw-
Mr. O'Brien's here, and so is Matt Morrow.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, thank you very much.
So I do believe that that was actually continued out to October 2nd. Reason being, is Mr. Karen is still in the middle of finishing up his evaluation.
Okay,
here
it
is
does
a-
say that, Matt. It was on the second page. I couldn't get my eyes, didn't get there
That's
fast
okay.
enough.
That's okay.
Mhm.
I figure while we're here, Mr. Karen is still finishing up his work. There were quite a few spots that Art wanted examined. And Chuck, I mean, it's a big site. Chuck's been going in and out
Mhm.
as he can. You can imagine going through all that can be pretty complicated, especially since you got to do a lot of soil work. So,
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. All right, and I think you guys are in actually here for a something that's later on in the agenda.
yes,
And I am acknowledging that you had already and we had already approved continuation to October 2nd, so we will just move along.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended, and the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a notice of intent by Steve Powell for the construction of a single-family home and associated site work at 171 Arbor Street. Do we have Steve Powell and or his representatives here tonight? And Sophia, do we expect to see them here tonight?
I didn't get anything either way. But that they think they said they'd be here for the September 18th.
Yeah. Okay. But since they are not here, when I've read this in, you know, our bylaws say, you know, lack of attendance is interpreted as a request for continuation. I think I'm going to ask us to the commission. I'm asking for a motion to continue this to a future date, but that date to be determined by Sophia's communication with the applicant as to when they'll be prepared.
So moved.
Thank you, Mike.
Second, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. Roll call vote. Mike,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
and we lost Jenny again. Oh,
I'm
no,
here.
you're here. I haven't repinned you. So your vote?
Aye.
Yeah, an aye for myself. Okay, thank you. Okay, Sophia, the ball's in your court. We won't add them back to the agenda until we get their confirmation.
So, okay, I'll reach out to them and see if they can give me something in writing on a specific date.
A way to manage that, you know, from a keeping the visibility on the agenda kind of perspective is just always keep it 2 meetings out until we get them, you know, communicating with you about when they're going to show up. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, let's move along to administrative determinations. 160 Sunset Lane. Sophia, what do we have there?
So previously we discussed having the applicant provide more information
Mhm.
and details, such as a planting schedule. to help address the erosion issues that are going on there.
Okay, and do we have that?
They submitted basically an updated drawing of like the same drawing, the same plan that was previously submitted.
Mhm.
And I'll share it. This is what they submitted.
So, I personally don't have any issue with what they're proposing to put in there and the level of detail of what they're proposing to put in there, but my issue is with the note that the project might not be completed due to high cost. And my concern, anytime I see something like that, is it's a little bit too ambiguous. I would like to see that the trees may not come down due to the high cost. The erosion, I feel like we believe should be, and clearly said it should be addressed. Oh, you know what? We do actually have the applicant on the line, and I apologize, Matthew. You had your hand raised.
Yeah, it's just Matt. Matt's fine, unless you're yelling at me.
Yeah, I'm not yelling at you.
So yeah, trees 1 and 2 on the left side, those are fine. They're either going to fall into the lake or on the slope, and we can pull them up. I have no issue with that.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of pictures too, if you want to run through them. Tree 3 is pretty close to the deck, and it's cracked almost all the way through. So I just want to make sure that we can take that one down. I'd hate for it to fall on the deck or on somebody in that area. Also, we're in a unique situation with the house up the road where we've been dropped by every insurance company. So I can't file an insurance claim on this, or I'm going to get dropped again and not be able to find insurance. So I want to get this moving forward. I need to get an updated quote from M&M Trees. I wanted to get approval first. I don't have approval from the neighbor because they have to put a crane in the middle of Sunset and prune trees that are overhanging the road. So I do not have control. If he says no, then I have a good relationship with him. I'm not anticipating that. We saw him on Saturday, so we just didn't have a chance to go over this. And there's the rough locations of where we're thinking of planting for the past couple years. I mean, I proposed planting stuff. That was not a result of this discussion. I proposed that to Sophia when she came to look at the certificate of compliance. We've tried to plant some grassy items on the hill just leading to the lake to the right of that first steps, and nothing's really taking. It's very sandy and silty. So we'd plant something a little more robust, like blueberry trees, something that can spread its roots a little more, and figure out what works best. Also, one of just our personal concerns is as we take these trees out, we're losing shade, and the sun rotates. The dock, the existing temporary dock, faces the sunset. So you can see there's an area of lack of tree coverage to the south side of the deck that we'd kind of selfishly want to revegetate so we get some shade in the middle of the summer. So we'd look at planting more native tree-like things there versus blueberry bushes. I've tried to find some.
I don't think we're going to have any opposition to you putting more vegetation there.
Yeah, I'd probably go beyond 3 to 1, just to be honest. I mean, we put like over the past 2 years, we've probably put 30 grassy things in that slope. We haven't put blueberry trees in yet, but yeah, we just source something for this spring and go at it.
Understory trees a lot of times too will, grow fast, right, and spread
Okay.
fast. So that may be something to consider as well.
I
like,
was looking when I had the initial discussion with Sophie, I was looking not necessarily for a planting schedule. So I think
Mhm.
that got misinterpreted on the last meeting as I read the tone of the discussion. I was looking more for a suggestion as to what would take the best
Mhm.
and what your recommendation would be to plant. Because the blueberry bushes, there are some up there, but they're very thin. We're looking to get something that'll take and kind of hold the ground back.
Mhm.
So that was our request. And the
Okay.
trees would be taken down. The tree 3 would probably be taken down to like no further than the top of the stump. Tree 4, the one right there closest to the deck, my wife wants to put a planter on it, so that would be taken down to the rail height, which I think is 6 or 7 feet off of the ground at that point. The other trees would be taken down to stump level.
Okay. So your note, the project might not be completed due to high cost. We were
Well,
very,
there's a high cost, but it's mainly the neighbor. I mean, at this point, I've thrown so much money at both these lots. We gotta just continue on, but it's like $5,000. They got to put a crane in and send
yeah,
somebody up
yeah.
and police detail. Shirley PD, I
I-
don't know why they get a better rate than us. I noticed that on the note.
I
What's
hear
up
they
with
don't
that?
do those kinds of things for free either. So
4-hour minimums, 8-hour minimums.
yeah. But we are very interested in the vegetation going in there, whether or not your tree work is delayed,
Okay.
just to manage the erosion there.
I'd probably get just for clarification, if I got approval from conservation and the neighbor, I would probably pursue getting this done before the winter. And given the cost of everything, and planting sometime in April or May, that's kind of high level what we're thinking.
Okay. Okay. I understand. Do we have other questions or comments from members of the commission? I do have one raised hand, and that is from Chris Riley. Chris?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just relating to the discussion, point of information, a suggestion on the plantings there where the wild blueberry bushes are shown. Beach plums would work extremely well there if it's a sandy, silty type of soil. They thrive there, in fact. So that would be my suggestion to the commission.
That's a great
all I have.
idea. That's a lovely foraging plant for the wildlife and whatnot as well. Thank you for that, Chris. Okay, and Sophia, remind me your recommendation on taking down the trees. I think we had your recommendation was to not allow tree 1 and 2 to be removed, but the other trees, due to their proximity to the deck, to be removed. Is that for us to consider allowing that?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Okay, so to members of the commission, are we looking for anything else from the applicant? It does look like they've done what we have requested here. So I think I'm looking for a motion to approve as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Jenny, and thank you, Jeff. Roll call vote. Chris,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Jenny,
Aye.
and I for myself. Thank you. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks.
Okay, 36 Sunset Drive. Sophie? What's going on with that one? I 36 Peninsula Drive, I muxed them together.
It's okay. So this one was, there are 3 trees that are close to the house, as well as the neighbors. The main homes on both sides, they claim that they could pose a threat if they fall. They're mature, very large, mature white pines.
Mm-hmm.
And the applicant is, sorry,
Are they damaged?
the homes or the trees?
The trees?
No.
Okay.
That's really, they just want to propose to remove them. They're all very large, healthy, mature white pine trees.
Do you have photos or a diagram or something that would give us some idea of how close they are to the wetland and how close they are actually to the houses?
Yep.
And what is your recommendation in this case?
In this case, they're pretty close to the lake, which is a resource area, and since I wouldn't consider this falling under a administrative determination, I
Mhm.
think this should actually fall under an RDA.
Okay.
Just by like the nature of the trees, they're healthy, so it should be an RDA, but I can pull these up. That's just the base of one of them. These are the tops. There's another one. And a further away view of that same tree.
Mm-hmm.
And then let me take you to the diagram. I'm not certain how to reorient this, but this is Hickory Hills here. And these trees are very close together, probably 5 feet apart. So this tree is possibly 20 feet from the edge of the water, and the one next to it is about 25, 23. Same thing for the tree over here.
Okay.
If you want more photos and like a relation to the water, I can also pull those up.
Okay. I'm okay. I looked it up while you were talking. I also looked it up on the property map.
Okay.
But I also kind of agree with your assertion that it ought to be an RDA. To my fellow commissioners, do you have does anybody think this is applicable to an administrative decision, or should we instruct them to come back on an RDA?
Madam Chair, this is Brian Corrigan. I'm one of the homeowners. I also have Ed Kukala next to me. He's my neighbor at
Okay.
44 Peninsula. Hello. Could you
Hi.
explain what an RDA is? Because we're unsure of what that acronym means.
It's a request for determination of applicability. And
Oh.
so basically you would be asking to make a change and asking us to determine whether the change you're proposing would adversely affect the resource area.
Okay.
So it's just more formal than an administrative determination. Usually administrative determinations are, it's a dead tree, it's dead to the world already, you know, and they're removing a dead tree is usually something the administrator will make a determination on themselves versus a decision that needs to be deliberated and voted on by the commission, which is a more formal approach.
Oh, okay.
Sophia, how far away from the lake were these trees? Approximately?
They're all within the 30.
Oh, they're all within 30 as
Mostly,
well, huh?
20,
Yeah.
20 to 25 feet.
Okay. And just for general information for the homeowners, when the commission does allow removal of trees within the 30-foot buffer zone, which is also called the do not disturb or do not touch zone, we always require a replication, and particularly for mature trees like this, the replication would be 3-to-1.
Yeah, we saw that earlier. I'm not
Okay.
sure it matters, but we planted about 20 hemlocks in the same general area. I know Sophia saw those as well. To help alleviate this when if and when we can get these other trees cut down.
Okay, yeah, certainly that would help an application. So, yeah, I would say to make certain that you include that type of information and where they're located relative to the lake, which is the resource area.
Right. And
Okay.
to get the RDA, the information that I would need would be on the Conservation Commission website.
It is, Sophia, there's a link there that would take him into the application process, right, in OpenGov?
Yeah, that's right. If you find the Conservation Commission under departments, it'll lead you to online submissions and forms, and you can just scroll until you find the RDA.
Oh, okay.
And you submit everything on there.
Oh, okay. Just like
And
I
I'll-
did for this essentially.
Yep, and I'll be notified once I get that.
Okay.
Okay, Brian, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along in our agenda. Certificates of compliance, 318 Page Street. And okay, you're getting there. Very
Sorry,
good.
I'm just wrapping up my
Don't
my
apologize. Takes as long as it takes.
Okay, so 318 Page Street, COC, they were looking for an approval. They did some work. However, they left the silt fence is still there, so I would still say approve. However, they need to remove the silt fence before I issue that, if it were to be approved.
Okay. And so what did they do there? And kind of give us an overview of like how it's stabilized and whatnot.
I'm going to. I'm just going off of my notes, so I'm.
That's
to
okay.
Look for that. Okay, so this one, essentially the main concern was the driveway that was going in. And there's a wetland off, well, there's a wetland off to the right looking from Page Street towards the house at the end of the driveway. So the main concern was the culvert that was going in, and that was the work that was conditioned. However, they did the work and left the silt fence in the woods.
Okay.
It's per usual for these projects.
But everything's stabilized, all the work, groundwork is stabilized, all the vegetation stabilized, etc.
Yes, that's correct. And they even somebody installed some sort of like fencing or wire in the culvert,
Mhm.
and there doesn't appear to be any sort of stormwater issues going on. So the
Okay.
water can go freely through the culvert on both sides.
Okay. And so your recommendation here is what?
To approve the COC, as long as they
Contingent
the sill
upon
fencing.
removal of the silt fence.
That's correct. And I did speak with Ryan Proctor. I was out there with him and he's aware of that.
Okay. Any questions or comments from members of the commission? Mike, you had your hand raised. Did I miss you from before?
No, that was for this. I'm just curious on what happens to silt fences once they are removed. Are they recycled? Is it composted? I don't know what the proper recycling of a silt fence happens after it's removed.
I don't know. It probably just goes in the landfill.
Okay.
Unless someone else happens to know.
What's the material within the silt fence? Is it straw or?
I think that's wattles that you're thinking about.
Okay.
And Sophia, was
Oh,
it
the silt
a
fence is the black fabric with the posts?
that's what I had understood. Sophia, is that what you meant?
That's correct. The silt fence is typically, I think it's actually made of polypropylene or something along the plastics family. And I think the straw wattles that were referenced, sometimes they make those, as just a side note, the netting around those can be made biodegradable via sunlight. But we're just focusing on the silt fence because that's the only erosion control that I found on site.
Okay. Thank you.
If there are no other questions or comments from members of the commission, I'm looking for a motion to approve.
So moved, Mike.
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Chris. Roll call vote. Jenny,
Hi.
Jeff,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
and I for myself. So that's for approval with contingency of the removal of the silt fence. Thank you. Chris, I just saw your hand raised.
Yes, I see Wayne on here. I believe that's Wayne Garapi, and I don't see anything on the agenda for what I believe he's here for. I just want to make sure he's not on for no reason. He was going to give an update of the retention pond at the village of Flat Hills. I just want to make sure that he's on the agenda. I don't see it.
Yeah, and I didn't actually have it on the agenda, which I think is probably my error, Chris.
Okay.
But it's just a update, right? So I don't see why we couldn't cover it under business, unless, if Wayne wants to come back at a different time and give us an update, that would be okay as well at the next meeting. Wayne, you
Sure, I can
bother?
come back at the next meeting.
Okay, so what I'll have you do, since I think it is just an update and not a formal request for a COC, so I'll put you on for an appointment at 7, so you can get on and hop off, and it doesn't take up your entire Wednesday night.
Thank you. That will work.
Okay. So Sophia, can you make a note of that for 0 Flat Hill? Is it 0 Flat Hill Road or 0 Cortland Circle?
Zero Cortland Circle.
Yeah, for a 7 p.m. appointment at the October 2nd meeting.
Will do.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye. Good night.
Chris, thanks for pointing that out, because I really don't like to hold people hostage on a meeting for a long time if,
Yeah, no worries.
yeah, thank you. Okay, moving along, violations, enforcement actions and hearings. And I do think this is a place where 390 Howard Street, parcel owner and, and representatives were here. So why don't we go straight to that one and do the other ones in other orders? Okay. So Sophia, why don't you get us updated on where we left 390 Howard Street?
So at the last meeting, we started discussing some issues with some violations that I discovered on my site visit after I was given permission to walk the site to ensure that the erosion controls were established. At the last meeting, the commission also came to a consensus to give the department permission to issue a violation notice. And then in the meantime, between that meeting and this meeting, there were some back and forth communications between myself and the applicant's representative about proper procedure in relation to issuing violations. So we are back here to further discuss and to be on the same page as the applicant.
Okay, very good.
Yep.
And so I think what you had reported to the commission last time was the erosion controls on the eastern side of the property, which is the more upland section, had been put in place, but that you were not able to find any on the western side. Is that right? Am I recalling properly?
That's right.
Okay, and so that's where you had expressed a concern.
Is on the westerly side of
Yeah.
the parcel, yes.
Okay, and so I would like to allow Kevin O'Brien or Matt Morrow time to speak.
Madam Chair, this is Kevin O'Brien. I'm the one that went out there and did the erosion control. I met S&M Farms out there and they did the erosion control. The same day I was out there, I went in and saw Sophie and I gave her permission, as she just said, to visit the site. She expressed concerns that the western side wasn't done. Now, typically, if I give permission to somebody, I would expect the same consideration to come back to me and have her call me and say, hey, I found an area that wasn't done. Can we go out there together and look at it? I sent her an email the other day, and she can probably tell you I wasn't happy to be talking about an enforcement order when I haven't even been given the opportunity to go out there and her show me what she's concerned with on the, let's call it the western side of the property. So what I'm asking her to do is to go out there with me, physically go out there, the two of us, and show me where her concerns are, instead of hitting me with an enforcement order that I have no idea, that I've never been even, there's not even some communication to say, we got a problem, let's go out there and look at it.
Okay, I understand. And I think what I'm hearing you say is you're not clear where the erosion control barriers need to be placed on the western side of the property.
That is correct.
Okay. All right.
If I may, too, Madam Chair.
Yes, Matt.
There was also something noted in Sophie's report about an area where she saw something going off the property that was undetermined. So I'd like to be present so I could see where that was, because I'll make the effort to see if I can figure out exactly if anything's gone off the property, where it's gone to, and see if anything needs to be remediated. But I'm not exactly sure where that would be. And I figured we could go over together and just get it straightened out once and for all.
Yes, that would be excellent, because we're all interested in ensuring the right, we really just want the erosion controls put in the right place, right? So that we're keeping silt from moving down gradient. Yes, Sophie.
So going off of that to try to figure out where it's where it's going to, if it's off the property, how would we go about doing that if it's encroaching onto other
Well,
parcels?
all I would need is for you to show me where said in your report, you saw that it may be going off the property. And then I'll deal with the abutting property owners. I mean, that shouldn't be on you. That should be on me and Kevin to deal with the property owners. If we've impacted their properties and we need to remediate it or we need to clean it up, we'll do that. We just need to be pointed in the direction. That's all.
And so Sophia, is this like water and silt leaving the property or coming on to Mr. O'Brien's property?
Would be leaving the property. However, it's
Okay.
still obviously undetermined as to where it dissipates from to.
Okay, so I think, are you saying that you've observed it from somewhere down gradient? And so you're not 100% certain where it's leaving, or even if it's leaving Mr. O'Brien's property?
That's true. I've also
Okay.
received complaints from neighboring parcels.
Mhm.
I cannot recall which one it was, but I have received complaints, so I would just like to make sure that that's not happening.
Madam Chair, this is Kevin O'Brien again. I'm sorry I can't be on. I don't know how to work these things.
That's
If
okay.
you're talking about a potential person that's complaining about property, something going on to their property, it would be good for us to know who that person is. Not that I'm looking for, to have an argument with them or anything, but that would get me in the vicinity of where this problem is. I know the property pretty well. I've been living and breathing in this property for 15 years. I've done soil testing out there for septic systems. We've probably done 200 to 250 test holes out there. So I have a good idea where the property line is. And if Sophie, as Sophie just said, now this is the first time I've heard about one of the neighbors complaining. I don't want that to be an issue. If the board has a problem with me, wonderful, I'll take care of it. But if somebody in the neighborhood or in that one of my abutters has a problem, I certainly want to take care of that. So if we can, I'm sure Sophie had got the name or maybe even just the address. So we can, when we go out there, myself and her and Matt go out there, we can pinpoint where this area is and determine if it is going on to that person that called in with the complaints property.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. I'll let Sophia handle that with you. I can say that there have been last year, I forget the owner, they own a lake down at the bottom of the hill, and they were complaining about silt coming into that lake. The problem that got in the way of us being able to investigate the source of that was we just didn't have the resources to track that. There's a stream that comes down off of the hill, around Howard Street. We didn't have the resources then to go back and get all the permissions to track it back and actually, confirm where the source of the silt was. So that has come into our visibility, but it's was left open, right? Because we didn't have the resources to confirm whether it was coming from your property or somewhere in between.
Well, in all fairness, after I heard about that, like you said, months and months ago, I checked and I looked at the places that it would come out. One would be at next to 384 Howard Street, which is where the road would go in. There was no discharge from there. And the ground is probably 3 feet lower than the street out there. Last year I had S&M Farms come out there and put some more siltation fence and hay bales in that area. There is a catch basin on that, right to the side of the road. I actually followed the catch basin down to the next catch basin, which crosses Howard Street to the other side of the road. If there was silt going down to that pond, which is almost 3/4 of a mile away, I think the discharge area right on the other side of Howard Street would show silt. There was nothing there. I went down further down the bottom of the hill where one of my other roads would come in, and I checked the same thing down there, and there was no discharge down there. In all fairness, I'm asking you to believe what I'm saying. It's a concern to me. I know you don't have the resources to look at it, and that's fair. But it's my property and I looked at it. And there was nothing discharging. Now, there was another house that was built down on that pond. You know, I don't know what they've done as far as landscaping it yet. You know, there was some other work done down there. I'm not blaming them. I don't care I mean, I do care, but I'm worried about Kevin O'Brien's property.
Yeah, I know what you're
I
saying.
didn't have discharge from my
Yep.
property, from what I visually saw with my own 4 eyes.
Mhm.
And that's my concern. Again, if I've got a neighbor uphill or up gradient that's getting affected or saying they're getting affected, I need to address that. So again, if we can set, the 3 of us, Matt, myself, and Sophie can get together, do a site visit, and she can give us the name or at least the address, we'll know the name at that point, of the person. I'm not looking to go over and argue with them. I just want to see if something discharges from my property onto theirs, I want to rectify that. This isn't my first rodeo. That's what I do for a living. I build houses, I build subdivisions, and I address things like that.
Okay, all fair. Thank you. Mike, you had a question.
Yes, Madam Chair. What is the commission's policy on revealing the identification of someone who might call in a complaint about an abutter?
I don't know that we have a formal policy, Mike. Sophie would be closer to that than I am. But in practice and reality, we can't really address a problem without knowing where the silt or runoff is going to, right?
That wasn't my question, Madam Chair. My question was, doesn't someone who calls in with a complaint about, don't they deserve a certain amount of anonymity? Otherwise, who would call in to the commission without that protection? So I just want to make sure that's
fair. Yeah. And I think when complaints are received, kind of the reality of the situation needs to be explained too, and people need to have the ability of, opting in or opting out, right?
And I'm not inferring that any retaliation is going to happen by revealing a name. I'm just saying that I think in the past our policy has been we do not reveal the identity of the complainer just for that reason. I mean, and as looks like we have a procedure where we're going to get together and look at the situation independent of who may have issued the complaint. So there's really no need to know the identity of the person bringing the problem to our attention, whereas it looks like Mr. O'Brien and Mr. Matt and Sophie may get together and look at it objectively. And so that's my point. My point is, I think it's a slippery slope if we start identifying people who are calling into the commission to get something resolved. People are less likely to do that if their identities are being revealed, unless they want to reveal their own identity and call into the commission. That's much different, but it doesn't sound like that's what was happening here. So I only bring it up for a point of order.
That's fair, and the point's well taken.
Actually, if I can go into that real quick, Madam Chair.
Sure, Matt.
Okay, so yeah, I'm very familiar with the policy, Mike. It was my policy you're talking about. I instituted that policy. So I agree with you. I don't think we should be looking for identities. We're not looking for identities. What we're looking for, and I think what Kevin is trying to say is we're looking for the properties. So people called in and said, okay, well, Kevin O'Brien's property isn't protected properly and it's causing silt to go on my property. So if you're going to come to us and say, well, you're causing silt to go on this person's property, they're complaining. We don't care who the person is. We just need to know where the property is. What Kevin's saying is, well, as a matter of consequence, probably figure out who the person is. We really don't care. We just need to know who we're dealing with as far as if we have to go on somebody's property to get permission from. Sometimes that can create a little bit of a catch-22. But I understand and appreciate where you're coming from because that was a policy that I've instituted over many years. I instituted it during my tenure in Lunenburg, all that wonderful time ago. And I can respect and appreciate that. So I just want to let you know what we're looking for is property that if we need to clean it up, we need to clean it up. We're not looking for people. That's just to make sure that's clear.
That's what I understood. That's very different than somebody driving past, Hickory Hills Lake and somebody taking down a tree and reporting that. Then, of course, it's easy to protect the reporter's name then, right? I've certainly had people call me and report things that people were doing in town that didn't look right. But, if you say, hey, somebody's got silt running, my upgraded neighbor has silt running all over my property, but don't tell them I complained about it. Okay, we won't, but it'll be kind of obvious who called in and complained about it.
Totally understandable.
Madam Chair, Kevin O'Brien again. As Mike was saying, it's a double-edged sword. We all understand that. Just look at the scenario with what you were just talking about a few minutes ago about the lake or the pond down the street 3/4 of a mile away. Somebody called in and complained and said it was from my property. As far as I'm concerned, you didn't have the resources to check that out. I checked it out and I know it wasn't from me and it sounds like it went away. Now that we've got another, let's call it complaint, about somebody's property that it's running on, I understand exactly what Mike's saying. It's not to be adversarial with the person. Again, I'm being proactive. If I have a problem with my property and it's causing somebody else a problem, I want to rectify it. I understand what you're saying about, these people are going to, you get mad at them because they're accusing you of something. It's not the case. I'm too old for that crap. So I think if we can set up the meeting with the three of us to go out there, even if Sophie wants to call the people and say, why don't you point it out to us or point it out to her at some point? I know she doesn't have a lot of time, as you said, but just a suggestion.
Okay. Yeah. I think that all makes a lot of sense. Sophia, will you and Kevin, do we think that we can get together within the next 2 weeks and have that conversation?
Assuming you're referring to Kevin and I scheduling a time to go out there on site. Yep, that's easily doable. It'll be on a Wednesday.
Okay.
And Matt's going to be involved in that too.
Yeah, Wednesday's
yeah, of course. I mean, Matt's your representative. So Kevin, you get to take him anywhere on your property you want to. You don't have to get our permission for that.
And I've given you guys, just so it's understood, Madam Chair, that I've given permission. You guys don't have to have permission every time you want to go out there. I've granted permission. I'm not trying to hide anything.
Okay. Yeah.
And, if I'm not looking for Sophie to call me every time she wants to go out there to get permission. You've got a carte blanche.
Yeah, and my interest is that you have clarity on what your obligations are, and that we manage you to those obligations.
Agreed.
just be aware now that hunting season has started, I believe. I'm not a hunter, but a lot of people go out there without my permission. So if Sophie, if you're gonna go out there alone, I would appreciate you not going out there alone, because wandering around the woods with people that I don't even get permission to hunt out there, God forbid what could possibly happen. So again, if you
Well,
choose
wear
to,
blaze
that's
orange.
okay. If she chooses to, that's okay. I'm not saying that I have to be there or Matt has to be there every time.
Yeah, well, I mean, your point about hunting season's well taken.
Yeah.
Wearing blaze orange and bright clothing is a good idea.
Yep.
Okay, then. So what I think we've agreed to is within the next 2 weeks, Sophia and Kevin's representative will get together. Sophia will point out where the corrective actions need to happen. And then I would look for the corrective actions to happen within 2 weeks of that meeting. Does that pose a potential hardship in anybody's mind?
Not depending on where it is.
Mhm.
If we can clarify, I thought I heard Sophie say a few minutes ago that Wednesday is the day she goes out. Well, today is Wednesday, of course, it's not gonna be today, but if we can at least get together, if we can say between Matt, her and I now, while we're on the meeting, that next Wednesday, we will set something up. If we can, S&M Farms jumps pretty quick, for everybody, I think, but, which are the best. I could probably get that done depending on what it is before the next meeting.
Okay, I mean, that would be even better, but you know what my expectations are is within 2 weeks of when you guys actually meet. And I'll let other commissioners tell me if they believe some other timeline makes more sense or not. And I'll rely upon my commissioners to raise their hands or speak up. I'm not seeing anything. So we'll handle it like that, right? And then we'll get back together and have a report at the next meeting on October 2nd.
That'd be wonderful.
Okay. Well, thank you for showing up tonight and articulating, you know, where you are, right, and what the misunderstandings are. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. Thank you very much.
No, thank you, guys. Much
Thank you.
appreciated.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks. Okay, Sophia, do we have any updates on any of the other enforcement violations or enforcement actions?
The only note that I have is for 40 Fire Road 12.
Ah, right.
Yeah, I wrote a reminder for myself as well that we need more clarity on that.
So if I recall correctly, 40 Fire Road 12, which is an issue where there's an encroachment on town property. The applicants had submitted a NOI to rectify because the encroachment on town property was actually paving and placing a lot of let's say personal items, which included wood and parking and whatnot within the 30-foot no-touch zone. They submitted an NOI to do the corrective actions. They had 3 years to implement that. The 3 years was up in July of this year. I forget the exact date. And the corrective actions have not been fully implemented. So we had voted at a previous meeting to issue fines and escalate the demand for the corrective actions. But Sophia, you pointed out that we had not, as a commission, directed you to how soon those corrective actions needed to be implemented. Is that the omission? Am I recalling correctly?
Yes, there needs to be a deadline or a time frame for when those actions need to be taken place by.
And can you remind us, what those corrective actions were?
So was removing the pavement, which had been completed. There's still gravel. The other actions that need to be completed are,
And so removing the gravel was another corrective action?
it's not listed specifically about the gravel, it just states removing the pavement. However, I think it's fair to assume that when you're paving, gravel is part of, it was a change that was made to the town property. So it's safe to say that that should be removed as well. The rest of the outstanding issues are, it needs to be loomed, seeded, and some sort of barricade, so people can't park there in that area, such as large boulders or something of the sort, or signage or something. Now, I did also note, maybe a suggestion, if seating doesn't seem like a feasible option this time of
Mhm.
year, then maybe have multiple set deadlines, for instance, one seating in the spring and a separate one for barricades and removal of debris at a different date. And then, as part of the enforcement, there's a section that allows for requesting the commission to request a written or drawn out plan of corrective action as well on what needs to be done, so that they have a very good understanding of what needs to be complete. So there's no room for misunderstanding.
Okay, so essentially they need to comply with order, everything listed in order of condition. So I guess my question too is, since the gravel's not, well, I mean, that's his comment more than anything else. It doesn't sound like gravel is explicitly listed in the order of conditions. I mean, it seems to me that they could loam over the gravel and then seed it and still be in compliance with the order of condition. Is that, am I just wrong in that, or does somebody think that's incorrect interpretation? People think that, they're not willing to tell me I'm wrong. Come on, my staff tells me I'm wrong when I'm wrong. Okay, and then it'd be nice if Rich Birch was here. I think he'd give us a really good idea of whether seating would make sense this time of year or not. I recall that last year we had asked an applicant to do seating, in the fall, and to have that completed by the middle of November. And Rich did advise that he thought that would make a lot of sense given the growing conditions that fall. So it seems to me that we're well within that time frame now. So this is something that the order of conditions have been completed. I think it was, Sophie, do you recall or have that handy? I think it was like July 24th or 27th or something of that nature.
I don't have it handy, but I know it was mid-July.
Yeah, so it's well overdue.
Oh, yeah.
So I would be advocating that they implement these corrective actions within 2 weeks. Is what I would be advocating for, unless somebody believes a different timeline makes more sense. Sophia, what's your recommendation in terms of timeline?
Well, I think it could go either way. With the seating, I'm a little hesitant with the frost and everything. I'm not, I don't want to give recommendation on the seating part. I think all the other corrective actions can happen.
Mhm.
I believe Mike and Jenny probably have a little more background in when seeding would be the best time that would have best results.
Okay. Okay, I think that's fair, and they conveniently both have their hands up to advise us right now. Mike, you have your hand up?
Yeah, it seems as if as long as, the soil stays warm enough for the seed to germinate, fall's actually a good time to plant grass. So you certainly do have to water and keep the seeds moist. Go early in the morning versus midday. I mean, that's kind of common sense on any watering, but especially if you're putting in new seed in the fall.
I would think, Mike, if they were going to seed in the fall, they would need to go ahead and jump on it, though,
Yeah.
and not
They
try to
say
put it off.
And they suggest after Labor Day is perfectly fine to start, and that's
Mhm.
where we're at. We're after Labor Day. So I think the window is open for that to happen.
Okay, very good. Jenny, you had your hand up?
I was just gonna say that early fall is actually the best time to plant grass seed. So
Okay.
this would be the perfect time to do it because we're almost at early fall.
Okay, excellent. So then, in terms of the timeline for doing this, I put out to start the conversation an expectation that it's completed within 2 weeks. Does anybody want to advocate for a different timeline? I'm not seeing anybody raise their hand. Okay. All right, well, I think I'm looking for a motion to issue an enforcement order. Sophie, I think that's what the action is at hand, is to issue a enforcement order to direct them to complete all the orders of conditions within 2 weeks or face day-to-day fines of $300.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Mike.
Second,
Thank you, Jenny. Roll call vote. Chris,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Jenny,
aye.
and I for myself. Okay, Sophie, I think we've checked all the boxes, yeah?
Yes, I'm glad to get that all put together now.
Very good. Any other updates on violations and enforcements?
Nope, we are still waiting on from DEP to get back to us for 205 Sunset Lane. Other than that, I don't have anything.
Okay. All right, next is the business section, but I'm just kind of recalling, I thought I saw some emails about drawing down Lake Shirley before or starting October 1st. So I think I had sort of thought those folks might have been on the call tonight in some way or another. Did that get resolved, Sophie?
So they actually, the DPW reached out to me shortly after that, explaining that they wouldn't want to make that change for one reason or another. So they have requested to be off the agenda.
Okay, so they now are saying they don't want to start the Lake Shirley drawdown.
That's
October
correct.
1st, October 15th works for what they need to do.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Good
From
enough.
what I heard, they went to Shirley and it was denied. So
Okay. Thanks for that, Jeff. Yeah, I was curious about it. And I was also curious about the jurisdictional, I think like Shirley has various layers of authorities having jurisdiction there. I don't think it's just us. And so that was, kind of my concern. But I am very interested in, to the extent that we can, helping the DEP complete work on that bridge. Okay, new business topics unknown within the last 48 hours. I don't have anything that's come up in the last 48 hours. Sophia was gonna do a OpenGov walkthrough for us, which I'm very interested in. Although, let me ask, we've got a Julia Root on right now. Julia, could you unmute yourself and let us know the topic that you were hanging out and waiting for? Maybe she had been there for a previous topic and just walked away and left the Zoom session running. Okay, Sophia, why don't you take us through OpenGov?
So, first, I do want to quickly inquire and ask if there are any burning questions from the commission, any issues that they had kind of mulling around OpenGov. Okay.
Where are
there's
you going to
one.
put your sidewalk notes? Are you going to put it in each site folder or where? Because I wasn't able to locate them for the last one. Luckily, we didn't have anything too terribly complicated.
So I've still been using the SharePoint for the basically all of them, all the notes for the administrative report. For OpenGov, I'll be adding notes from site visits within that area, and that will be part of my little walkthrough as well.
Okay, and then photos will also be there. Will the commission have the opportunity to upload photos of sites?
So as of now, we have it available for attachments to be uploaded. For instance, 160 Sunset Lane was able to upload a bunch of photos. You basically just upload new files and it'll pop up your file explorer, and you can basically choose anywhere within there and upload it and label it accordingly. I don't know if there's a capacity to that. So there'll be photos there. And I know I've been using the old Google photo like drive to upload in different various albums. But when we're transitioning over to OpenGov, I would really like to keep everything in one spot. So I'll also start uploading photos to those submissions so that we're not using SharePoint and Google and OpenGov and
yeah, we need to have
all
one
kinds
source of truth.
places.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. Why don't
So
you
those will be in there.
walk us through?
Okay. Nobody else had any questions?
I see no hands raised.
Okay. So I quickly put together a little presentation just for the sake of organization, and it will be available to view after we're done here. This is located in the SharePoint folder, so you'll be able to access that whenever you want. So starting off, something that's really great that I've been using is you can actually create a report by going from the main screen, and right next to your inbox, there's an explore button. and you click on reports right below it. And then it will bring you to, let me just move that. You bring you to a screen that looks like this. You will go up here and select the department that of your choice, and which would be Conservation Commission. And then it'll basically bring everything up in this active records section. You can also change the records from active to archived, etc. Then you will filter by going to the General tab. You can see the report name, active records, and the department. This will give you a drop down, and you can select all department records, or you can change it to if you're looking for all the ANRADs or administrative determination, certificate of compliance. The only two that we don't have as of yet are still working on a draft for an amended order of conditions application, but you can basically find everything else in there.
Have you already created folders for yourself in here for like just as for a test, like for put files in? This is replacing SharePoint, right? So this we would have the same kind of, we would have a similar folder structure.
I'm not quite sure what you're asking.
I think the answer is no, Chris, if I understand the app correctly. I think everything's indexed against the record number there in blue under the record number.
Okay.
And so that I don't think it would be, in our share file and before that our Google file, everything was, it seemed like indexed against the hearing date. And then the folders would be structured under that the address and then under the hearing date.
So you can filter it to
Well,
whatever way you want to look
hang
at.
on though, Sophia,
Yeah.
does that, am I right in that understanding? Or do you believe it works a different way?
I think we're kind of on the right page.
I guess what I'm asking is, today I go to a folder 372 Townsend Harbor and I look at the PDF and the JPEG and all that. Is this just going to be for the actual like RDA files, or is this going to be hold everything?
This will
hold
have all
everything.
applications
Okay.
that
And
come in.
it'll have everything for that RDA application.
Okay.
So
Yeah, so everything that they submit through the portal will be in the attachments portion.
Okay.
take us through one of the ones that we heard tonight, Sophie.
Yeah, that
Oh
would.
wait, no, you're doing your script. I don't want to get you off
Oh, yeah,
script,
yeah,
'cause
sorry.
that might make you lose the plan, but maybe after you're done, take us through one of the
Yeah.
ones that we did tonight.
Well, actually, when I was making this, I used one that we we talked about. So the next slide is how to search for a permit ID number, or you can search by location. So if you know the location, you can type in the location. But when I have the agendas posted, I've also started putting in the number, the permit ID number, if you haven't realized, record ID number. So for instance, on the agenda, it says RDA-24-5. That correlates with 372 Townsend Harbor Road. So you can either type in that location or the number in the search bar.
Great.
Now, the tricky part is when you type that in, you have to select the correct one. Sometimes you have to go back and select the other one. Because sometimes it'll bring up building records, but you go down here and you select the correct type of record. There's the RDA 24-5, and you can see the beginning of it, record request for determination. So you'd have to actually select this blue title here to view it. And then it brings you to the actual submission where you can see the details, is which I typically start in the details to give me a brief on what the submission actually is and what they want to do. And then you can look at this would be important for the commission as well, looking at the meeting date information. This will be posted down here on the bottom. I'll get rid of that.
And that's under the details?
Yes, so you can kind of see it's kind of selected here with the gray bar.
Yeah.
This is the details area. So this bar here shows that it's scrolled all the way down. And I will go in and edit this prior to advancing in one of the steps, which would advance to the actual meeting date that is sent out to the applicant. They'll get a notification. So this has to be changed prior to me sending that out. And then here is the attachments and photos, files, and forms that are required. As you can see here, there's actual required documents. So if they don't upload those required documents, they can't proceed to the next step. And the submission is incomplete. But you can see that tab here if you click on that, the attachments. You can see the number of files here, and they also state the date and time that they were uploaded. See, there's an example of photos here. That's what I was scrolling through earlier. And this is the comments section where if I leave comments in the workflow, you can see a little comment bubble activity feed. This is Robin Jacobs and I going back and forth about what I need from them and some notes and further information. So we can kind of communicate there. It's so much better than going back and forth through emails. And then these are just different active steps, inactive. This is in progress. It's basically just showing what the progression is within the workflow steps. And this is the section where I schedule inspections and put my notes in. Right in this box right here. August 20th, 2024. This was requested. So I put in the inspection date and time. And then I either pass, fail, or partial the inspection, and I write my comments in with the inspection. I can also put internal messages down here at the bottom that is basically between myself and the applicant. I can also switch it to public. And
So,
again, for
does this send emails to the applicant, or how does that interface on their side?
yeah, so basically, from my understanding, any change that happens, any deletion or upload or comments or changes, they will get notified. I believe it's through email because My assistant was playing around with that the other day, and I was getting multiple emails
Okay,
based off the changes she was making.
okay,
And I will note, just for the record, that anybody, the public, can access these records. So they can still come to the office or call or email to get records. However, it's really at their fingertips now. So all they have to do is log on to, well, they don't even need a login. You just go on to OpenGov and you can view these submissions. So it really makes everything very accessible.
Sophia, you mentioned that you can add notes or comments to those entries. Can all commissioners do that? Like if we're reviewing an applicant's submission, can we make notes against that stuff as well?
No, that would be a different type of permission. The goal here is only for OpenGov to be a place where the commission can access materials and view materials only.
Okay.
So Jenny, you had your hand up?
Yeah, so actually I have two things. I do see a note area under the Conservation Commission sidewalk with the option for an internal note or a public note. But would it make sense for the Conservation Commission sidewalk to be separate from like the agent walk? Because technically, to me, the Conservation Commission sidewalk would be the actual commission walking the site, but it looks like it's being utilized for the conservation agent walking the site.
That's correct. The way it was set up, it's basically a verbiage, and that can be changed so that there isn't any misunderstanding.
So yeah, so I think maybe it would make sense to have it be agent, and then you could notify them when you're coming. And then also have a separate one for the Conservation Commission site walk so that we can notify them when we're coming.
Yes, that's a great suggestion. And I did have that thought, but it was a partial thought, so thank you for completing it.
And that's all I had. But there is, just to say, we can do internal messages. So there are, which I assume would be not public messages because the other option is public. So maybe that might be something we wanted to utilize. I don't know.
And so you can make that workflow step an optional step, Sophia?
Adding like the additional Conservation Commission site walk as a separate step. Oh yeah. Yes, we can do that.
Okay. Mike, you have your hand raised?
Yes, Sophie, can I make copies of some of the documents that you might have if I wanted to refer to them, you know, at the next meeting or something? Is any of this information, can I print it or is it not printable?
It depends what software you have, but you can download it. So what I've been doing as the submissions come in, I can actually just press this little, you can still see my screen, this little cloud right here, and it downloads that attachment, and you can click it, and it depends on how they upload it. Usually it's PDF, sometimes it's JPEG, but you can click on it, open it, and you can print it from there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is that the, seems like that was the end of the presentation, so now you could take us into like one of our recent applications.
Let's see, recent as in within this agenda or something that just came in? And
Well, something that we've already talked about and seen, I think.
okay,
But I would encourage the commissioners for this to just, talk. Don't go through the formality of talking through me. I appreciate that, but let's just talk to Sophie and ask whatever questions for you.
So this is 70 Horizon Island Road.
Okay.
So one of the things you showed us, Sophia, is that that it'll display the hearing date. What if we ask the applicant to come back? Do the hearing dates get captured sequentially, or do we just see the last hearing date they've attended for that issue? How does that work?
It would be the same one that was initially issued. That would show up. No additional steps would occur after that.
Okay, so it won't, this workflow won't capture like, something like 390 Howard Street that's been before us a number of times and we still haven't closed it out.
So we're basically moving from a certain date that we've added the applications forward.
Mm-hmm.
And the thought alone of adding applications and things that happened prior to initiating OpenGov
You're
is
misunderstanding my question. I'm just using that as an example. I'm not asking about that specific one, but we do have applications like that one that are long and complex and they come before us multiple times. And in the context of what Chris was asking, do the hearing dates ever get updated, or it'll just show that first hearing date? It won't show any of the follow-on hearing dates.
right. It'll just show the first hearing date, no following.
Okay.
One
There
of
will
the
be
questions I had,
comments.
Sophia, when you were in our previous file containment systems like SharePoint and Google Drive, if the image is uploaded incorrectly in terms of orientation, I usually have to download it and use something locally to flip it. Does this have anything better? Like if there's a file and with an image that's not oriented correctly, can we fix the orientation right in the application? Do we have to continue to download it?
I don't think there's any editing
Okay.
capabilities within. It's just zoom in, zoom out.
Yep. Okay. Fair enough. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, and so in this one, where would your site notes be?
Messages.
Okay. Do we have a way of like, like before a site walk, would we be able to like see all of your messages and not have to drill into each folder to get them, or we would have to drill into each folder to get them? I mean, I know this is relatively new for you too.
I
So
don't
if you don't
know.
know, okay.
I don't know that there's a way to. No, actually, we had this discussion. I talked to Brian about that.
Mhm.
Because right now, as you know, I've been duplicating and putting everything into one concise document. But no, there's no way as of now to make that happen.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, I think I know where to go get those now. And then when you start adding photos here, where would those go as attachments?
Yeah, so if anybody has any problems uploading, or if I need to delete something or add something, I just go to attachments and I can do that on my end.
Mm-hmm.
Upload new files.
Mm-hmm.
And, I could just grab something and
So you said we should be able to do that as well?
no,
Oh,
no,
okay,
this is my end.
okay. Well, you have a different permission level than us. I understand that.
Is there any other questions pertaining specifically to viewing materials?
If we wanted to, I mean, it would be great if somehow we could figure out a way to get commissioner photos into these folders. Do you know of any way, or would we just like have to email you or your assistant and have you upload them?
Yeah, I think it would have to go through either of, yeah, I would direct that to my assistant for her to
Okay.
do.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. I already, went in there and played around. Oh yeah, I do have another question. So in terms of like the backlog of documents that still need to be signed, Ryan seemed to think that we could get a report out of this.
If I'm understanding correctly, the explore and pulling reports that way in the beginning of my presentation would pull everything from the date that they were submitted.
Mm-hmm. Then how would we know which ones are still not issued, but the decisions had happened?
So if they were issued, they would be downloaded to that attachments area.
So
I'm asking about a report that you can just push and that'll give you the status of that stuff. Brian seemed to think that we could do that and be clear, like in I don't know, a column and row kind of format of what is outstanding.
I don't know that it would work because I don't think that everything is in there right now. Because I know that mine is still outstanding and mine isn't in there at all.
I think the things that aren't in there, it would not be able to report on. 100% agree. But everything that's in there, I had understood that we could run a report and get the information. And then anything that's manual would still have to be caught up, until we got all the way over, caught up and all the way over to this. Sophia, it sounds like if Brian knows a way to do it, maybe you
He
don't
might.
know a way to do it. Okay.
Yeah,
Fair
he's kind of the wizard.
Okay. And then Jenny, the other point I think you were trying to make is you still haven't gotten your OOC. Is that right?
I don't have my OOC, but also none of my stuff from like the beginning until the OOC is in OpenGov.
Right.
I think because it seems like a lot of stuff is in there like from 4 years ago. So I was surprised that it seems like some stuff, maybe around that time frame when there was kind of just nobody that could be doing that.
But you might be seeing stuff in there that's not Conservation Commission submittals.
I think maybe that's it.
Yeah.
It would probably be building or zoning.
Yeah.
From previous years. Because this is very recent.
Is there a way to get Jenny's OOC issued?
Yes, I don't recall where it stood exactly. I know I had it in for signing quite some time ago.
Can you check on it for us?
I had about 6 orders of conditions that were stacked on my desk. And I've been having help sending those out. So it actually might be one of those that's on my desk. I'm not entirely sure.
Okay, well, you can answer that offline, maybe.
Yep.
That'd be great. Okay, The night's starting to get long. Do we have any other questions about OpenGov? I think it's huge progress. I'm really looking forward to using it.
So will this eventually delete the DocuSign requirement too? Can we sign documents on this eventually, or is that not?
Great question, Jeff.
I don't know about signing capabilities. I think
Okay.
this is mostly just submissions from the public
Okay.
intake.
Okay, well, if there are no more questions, Sophie, thanks a lot for putting this together for us. I really appreciate it. And I also know that all the workflows that are represented there also represent some work as well, and porting our processes over to it. So thank you for that. Okay, moving along. I don't have any updates on title searches, encroachments. I do have a couple of open space and land use update. So the Lunenburg Conservation Commission sponsored grant, the contracts have been awarded. I think we're still waiting on the POs being issued. Sophie, is that right? We have one PO issued and we need to issue 2 more. Is that correct understanding? Oh, Sophie, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yes, that's correct. There was the first one that is complete, and I was walking my assistant through how to actually complete one on Tuesday, and we got almost done the next one. But it's going to take time.
Okay, any idea when you might be able to get the other 2 done or help your assistant get those done?
Oh, we were planning on resuming that on tomorrow, actually.
That's cool. But do you know when you might get them done?
No, I do not. I hope the end of day tomorrow.
Okay. And I have no idea what's involved, so yeah, telling me at the start doesn't tell me kind of when it might end, but that's good enough. If you hope tomorrow afternoon is target, that's fine.
I understand that. There's just so many things that come up that are unforeseen, especially working with Munis. It is not the most reliable system out there.
Yeah, understood. That target for tomorrow afternoon is good enough. I understand there are unexpected things that get in the way. Also, the Lunenburg Snow Rider sponsored grant, all the work is completed. We've gotten permission from the grant administrator to purchase the ATV. We expect the ATV actually to be employed to help maintain trails all around Lunenburg Conservation Land. So we just have to figure out how to do the funding, because we have to actually buy the ATV and then get reimbursed back from the Mass Trails grant administrator. That's that. I don't have any updates on conservation land improvement other than the grant progress. I know that's really immediately where Bob, our number 1 trail steward, has been focused on his efforts. He is out of town for the next, I think, 3 weeks traveling. So good for him. Any updates on Hollis Road, Mike?
What I have is the new Habitat Happenings is out. The September issue is out, and I recommend everybody going on Facebook and looking at it. I have a copy of it on my Gmail, but if I can figure out how to send it to Outlook, I will do that so everyone else can see it. But I don't have Facebook, but it sounds like everybody in the world does. They can go to the Lunenburg Community Pollinator Habitat, and they can actually get the newsletter there. and they sort of keep the progression of what they're doing. This latest issue talks about some of the invasives that they have removed from the habitat, and there's a bare spot that they're hoping to, now that the invasives are removed, to put something more native in its place. So it's a great little newsletter, tells you what's happening at the pollinator habitat, and things are well. Things are getting mowed as now that we have a reliable lawnmower to do so. So it's pretty spectacular out there. I was there recently to probably fill one last container of gasoline, and it was, beautiful goldenrod and other Mexican sunflowers, and it's really a treat to go out there and just take a walk and commune with nature, and it's not very far. And I can't say enough about this.
It's a beautiful newsletter. I was just looking at it while you were talking, Mike. That's really cool.
And I'm hoping, I did send something to Bob to see if we could put the newsletter as it comes up in the kiosks at all the trailheads. I thought that would be a great way to educate people who do hike in the area, and perhaps they would get a taste of the habitat and be on the lookout for some of the flowers that are there, and maybe they've seen some of those same flowers in their own backyard. So I feel like we're in a position where we can also educate our residents here in Lunenburg. And
if there's a place where these are stored too, we could link put a QR code, pollinator habitat QR code, right? Yeah. And put that in the kiosk.
That would be wonderful. And I'll ask about that if we have that. I'm looking at the actual newsletter. Be nice to have an address on there to 123 Hollis Road. So maybe there's some ways of tweaking it. And once again, this is done by
volunteers.
Being a volunteer, so but she's very good. I'm sure if there's a way to do it, she can figure it out. And
or even an example newsletter, right? So people know kind of what they're looking for, and a QR code and an address. That'd be awesome.
Okay, that's all I have.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. Thank you. Open space update. I did have one slight update from open space. One thing that's come up a couple of times since I've been attending the open space committee meetings is for properties that are in chapter 61 abatement, in order for them to move forward with taking it out of the abatement, they have to notify the town, and the town has to be given first right of refusal for purchasing it. And the timeline on that is something like 120 days, which sounds like a lot if you were going to go buy a house. But when you think about the way town decision-making happens, right, across multiple commissions and boards, and then getting funding decisions, right, and then actually executing on the sale, 120 days is really almost not realizable if you know on day one and have consent from the boards on day one. And one of the things that has happened is that we've through just the way the processes work, nobody's being bad people or anything, but just the way the processes work, the staff levels have been really low across the town. Not even the turnover on the Conservation Commission is just an issue, it's all over. We have missed opportunities on being able to exercise our first right of refusal. And so one of the things the open space committee members had asked me to ask Sophie is if there is some way within our intake process on NOIs is to require the applicant to actually tell us up front whether their parcel that they've submitted an NOI for is in a Chapter 61 abatement program or not. And that was, Sophie, I sent you and Brian kind of an initial email, but I think I was too vague on what I was asking. But that's essentially what it comes down to, is if there was a way we could add a checkbox and ask the applicants, because if they say it's in a 61 abatement already, then we know and we're making informed decisions. And I think it reduces the number of times that you would have to go and check that and tell the board, because the information would already be filled in. Sophie, you're on mute. Did you have questions?
No, after you kind of explained it a little further, I think I understand
Okay.
what you're asking, and I think we're gonna have that conversation too in further detail tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I thought I at least go ahead and socialize it with my fellow commissioners, right? See if
Mhm.
anybody had questions or concerns. And then if you had additional questions, I thought it'd be good to at least give me overnight to kind of think about how I might need to answer them, or what I might need to do to answer them.
Mhm. At this point, I don't have anything. Maybe with a fresh mind tomorrow morning, I'll think of something.
Okay, well, and Brian's pretty process savvy too, right? So he may have more to throw at me. Do we have updates from stormwater, Jenny?
We don't, we actually haven't met. We're meeting tomorrow for the first time in a while, so
Woo!
maybe next time.
Yeah. All right. And do we have any final questions or comments from members of the commission? Or members of the public?
I just want to let everybody know that I'm usually not available on Saturday mornings for the site walks, but I am available during the week because I'm out of work. So like, for example, Sophia, if you're gonna go up to 390 and you want company, just reach out. I'm usually around, so.
Oh, that'd be great. I was actually going to extend that invitation to anybody else in the commission to, I think the more the better,
Yeah.
specifically for that site visit too.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. I've never been
Yeah.
there, so I'd love to go specifically to that one, but any other ones I'd be open to as well.
mhm. Okay, definitely set aside like an hour at least.
Sure.
It's
It's
huge.
it's an expansive site.
Yeah, just give me a heads up and I should be able to go.
Okay, great.
Excellent. I would feel better not having Sophia be solo up there as well. So I hope you're able to make it, Chris. With that, I am looking for a motion to adjourn at 9:52.
So moved.
Thank you, Mike.
Second,
Thank you, Jenny. Roll call vote, Mike,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Mary? Oh, that's me. It's getting late. I'm reading off the screen. I for myself, Jenny.
aye.
All right, that is that one last parting comment, you guys. We're missing the conservation commissioner, so if you know of anybody you think it'd be good, talk it up on Facebook, talk it up to friends and family, neighbors, etc. We need to get Bob will never be replaced, but we do need to get another person here helping us out.
Okay.
Thank you, Mary.
Have a great evening.
Night.
Thank you,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody.
Bye-bye.